So often in our daily lives, we run right from point A to point B. We live in a society that is built around achievements and goals and very overstimulated. And what you might have noticed in your life, I know I've been there, where something that I was so passionate about, eventually that forceful place takes over because I have an agenda. I have an agenda to get somewhere. That force takes over. The frantic energy takes over, often without us even at first recognizing it. And along the way, it actually disconnects us from being fully present in our body. And I'm sharing that piece today on presence to begin our conversation, because often the topic of presence is talked about from a very cerebral, from a very mind-based conversation. But what I know to be true is presence actually happens, it's a body experience. We can talk about it all we want. However, the more we talk about it, doesn't mean we're actually going to achieve that state and feel it. So one of my intentions with you today, through our conversation, is to also guide you gently into experiences to start to open and unlock the door to you feeling what we're actually talking about. So we just simply started moving consciousness, conscious awareness throughout our physical body. For me, mindfulness and meditation actually creates a lot of arousal and turn on in my body. And I'm going to share more about that when I get into what sexuality means to me, because I know you all shared about this last week and have been talking about it over the last couple of days in your boot camp. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. So when we start to feel our breath, what is it doing, right? It starts to calm our nervous system. When our nervous system is wired and frazzled, we're not present in our body. And that's also where our sex or sexuality might have felt very physical and mechanical in our life. So as the breath calms our nervous system, it immediately starts to bring us more present into our body. We'll talk at the end of this conversation more about how breath is used for emotional clearing and building pleasure. But right now, simply presence. And then from that place of being a little more in tune and aware of our body, we can start to track literally physiological responses that happen in an experience. Because if we're out in a busy, hectic world, if we're going through a relationship challenge, our own shame and stories, right? The nervous system is stressed. The fight, flight, or freeze response starts to take over. But when we start to calm, we start to identify those sensations in our body, because the sensations are actually triggered by the emotion, by the activity that is happening in our world. Some of you may have heard the concept of to follow what you feel. And I mean that from a place of using a combination of emotional intelligence, which is meaning being present and never assume anything, and feeling what's alive in our body. And often what feels really alive and clear is the direction that's calling us, more so, which I find would serve the highest part of our being. You know, that's been my experience. Otherwise, we're following constriction and contraction. We're creating more constriction and contraction in our relationships, in our sexual experiences, in our work environments. So simply by understanding, identifying is the key. Number one, awareness and identifying those physiological responses, the temperatures, where the constriction is, where the flow is, sensation. That is information. Without the information, we are making blind choices. And for me, the more information that I can access through my awareness and presence, oh my God, the more profound my life experience is actually going to be. Why? Because I'm feeling more. And in my opinion, we are meant to feel immensely. That is being alive. Yet, most of us live half numb because we are covered with veils of past pain and our stories attached to our stories. He said, she said, confused. There's so much confusion around our sexuality.